Hey everybody, we've done a couple of Legends of Runeterra videos already, but one thing we haven't touched on really are some of the decks, some of the really cool decks that you can actually make in the game. So today we've got our kind of top 5 decks that you definitely want to try if you get access to this beta. You'll probably see some of these around right now. Some of them are very strong, some of them are just really fun. We're going to kick this off with one of my favorite decks and one of the strongest in the game at the moment, which is a control deck from the Shadow Isles and Freljord regions, and mostly centering around Anivia and Tryndamere. The idea of this deck is that you have amazing removal from Shadow Isles cards to clear the board, to deal with really big threats, and to stall for late game. You have some good drain, and you have some good heal effects in here as well to recover and to buy yourself some more time, just so you can get to this late game. The Freljord part of this is bringing mana ramp and late game threats to create a kind of slower but really powerful deck. You have Anivia and Tryndamere as your champions, but you also have a card called She Who Wanders as your big late game unit. Anivia is very hard to remove from the board with a revive mechanic, and Tryndamere will revive and then level up, so stay on the board. Plus She Who Wanders has regeneration, so you have to kill her in one go. That can be really hard to deal with. You kind of have to throw multiple cards at these things to get rid of them, which a lot of regions just can't really do. The idea behind this is to get to high mana totals, and then either She Who Wanders, which kills all units for 4 or less power in play and hand, so is a really good board wipe, or you drop your Tryndamere or Anivia followed by Ruination the turn afterwards. It will kill everything including your units, but Anivia and Tryndamere will revive, creating a really one-sided board wipe for you. The other way to do this as well, which is really cool, is to get 12 mana, which will require some spell mana banked from the previous turn, so some planning, but play War Mother's Call. That will summon a unit this round and each round afterwards for the rest of the game. Basically, it's a snowball that the enemy can't really recover from because your units are so big, so you're dropping these like 10/10s on the board that they can't deal with. So next up we have our meme deck, our Devil Teemo. There are lots of different Teemo decks you can run. A more varied one is with Ezreal, but this is purely about the Teemo. It revolves around your mushrooms as your only win condition. It's filled with low cost spells and creatures that draw cards so that you can find your key pieces, which are Teemo and Dawn and Dusk. This whole deck is centered around these little trap cards, which attach to other cards in the enemy deck and then deal 1 damage to the enemy nexus when drawn. You effectively make the opponent kill themselves with this deck, which is extremely frustrating to play against, but very enjoyable to play or to watch. Once Teemo does level up, which in this deck is not very difficult at all, he will then double the amount of puff caps in the enemy deck each time he hits the enemy nexus. This deck is very troll, but Dawn and Dusk will make it even better. It will create 2 exact copies of an ally. They only last 1 turn because they're ephemeral, but you have 3 Teemos that can each play Fire Poison puff caps in the enemy deck, or if leveled up, they can each double the amount. Teemo is very important for this deck to actually work, so when you have him, you really don't want to lose him, and that is why you also have Deny in this deck, which will stop the next fast or slow spell, ideal for keeping the little devil alive while he plants away. The rest of your cards are very much just about buffing up Teemo in this deck, putting more puff caps into the enemy deck, or drawing to find Teemo and the Dawn of Dusk combo, which is the combo you really want to play. If you like the idea of this, but you don't want to go full ham on Teemo, then we do have an Ezreal Teemo deck, which I'll link down in the description below, and you can check that out on our site. It's a bit more of a spell slinging deck. It has Teemo in there as well, but there are other ways to win. Our next one is going to be very popular, and it's a really cool deck to play. It's a Yasuo control deck. There are quite a few different versions of this floating around. You can run ones with Karma as well, which is pretty spicy, but this is purely about the Yasuo synergy. This deck starts off a bit slow. It's not very good early, but it is a menace once turns like 4+ come around. The deck purely revolves around stalling until you can stick one of your 3 big payoffs, so your Yasuo, Blade Twirler, or Legion Commander. After you get one of your major threats on the board, you can then Intimidating Roar, you can Yone Windchaser, Minotaur Reckoner, put onto big stuns that let you swing the game back into your favor. You want to be using your Deny and your Key Barrier to draw and to protect your key cards like Yasuo, because without him, he don't really do any damage. The reason this is so strong is because it provides a control element with the stuns and the recalls, which are very strong anyway, but it makes them do damage with Yasuo. Normal Yasuo will do damage to anything that you stun or recall, but once leveled up, Yasuo has 5 power, and he will strike each and every card you manage to stun or recall. So with our Swiftfoot, which is one of our biggest cards, she recalls 3 enemies, and you can imagine how devastating that is when you have a Yasuo on board as well, basically killing everything. There are some really cool combos in this deck that you want to try for. So for example, Intimidating Roar will stun all enemies with 4 or less power, and it's effectively a board clear mid game if you have Yasuo out as well. One of our other win conditions is Legion General, which can be huge. So it's a 5 cost 4/4, but it will get +1/+1 for each unit that you've stunned or recalled this game. In this deck, it can be massive. It can cheese wins itself without the Yasuo even being out there, because most of our cards honestly do stun or recall a unit. One of our last win conditions is our Blade Twirler. It's only 3 health, it's pretty low cost, but it will get +2 for each stun or recall, and it can easily get out of control if they aren't playing any removal and can't get rid of this. Those are really the 3 ways that you're going to win this game. You're going to have your Yasuo, especially leveled up, and then just stun and recall everything while he shreds everything down. You're going to have your Legion General, which turns into like a 15/15 or something, and then a Blade Twirler as well, which can just snowball the early game. Our next deck is all about protecting your Fiora. It revolves around her as your win condition. She is the only champion in the game that allows you to destroy the enemy nexus without dealing any damage to it. If Fiora can kill 4 enemies in combat, then you just win the game. By using our other champion Shen and the whole barrier package that Ionia and Demacia have to offer, you try your best to find and protect that Fiora until she can carry you home to victory and destroy that nexus. You do have some other win conditions in this deck as well, especially your Green Glade Caretaker that can get to insane power levels if you manage to keep her alive, which isn't the easiest thing to do. The deck is extremely good against other minion-based decks since you can take favorable trades with barriers and get a lot of board control. Challenger is such a strong keyword here as well. It allows Fiora to drag a unit out, force them to block her, and survive with that barrier. Your late game isn't going to be that bad when you can buff other units and you can remove a lot of threats. Like Brightsteel Formation is normally your out if you haven't found your Fiora. You're buffing your whole board, giving a huge 9/9 body to threaten with, and you even have stuff like Judgment that is a potential full board wipe. Last up, we're going to look at more of an aggro deck. So this is Discard Aggro. It is one of the more fun aggro decks. You'll see a lot of Noxus and Elise decks right now, but this is all about flinging cards out of your hand. The idea is to run you and your opponent out of cards to generate a bit more tempo. Then you start to draw with a leveled up Jinx or Augmented Experimenter. You can actually use both of those together for a really cool combo at the same time, but once Jinx is leveled, you can really turn up the heat. Early game, you're really just using your minions to try and get control of the board and discard your hand, wasting their cards and yours. Draven would extend this even more by generating more spinning axes, allowing you to discard a card and give an ally more attack for that turn. You do have access to some tech in this deck, especially with Whirling Death that will let you remove a really big unit without having to trade and swinging back control. Jinx is really in this deck for card draw, but Draven is there for your damage to like finish it off. Once he's leveled up, he'll keep fueling his own damage with these spinning axes. He'll create more than you can probably use, honestly, and you just want to slowly chip away at the nexus while they run out of cards. So those are going to be 5 decks that we think you should really try in this beta, and 5 of our favorites from playing so far. There'll be codes to the decks down in the description, as well as links to our website as well, where you can build your own deck, look at these decks, and also look at all the cards that are in the game. Let us know your favorite deck down in the comment section below. Make sure you subscribe and like the video if you enjoyed it, but we'll catch you in the next video.